we would like to just have a brief update with you today on the program because the program will start in September. So as program director, I thought you might want to have an idea in more detail of the timeline of events in September, and also have the opportunity to ask questions about the program. I know I've presented the program already, and I'm sure you've read a lot about it already, but just in case there are questions, very happy to take questions today too. And my colleagues, Sam Rose Buckner, who is one of the senior administrators of the program, and my colleague David Bell, they are also online, and they will help me keep track of your questions if I can't always see the chat line properly. I think I will start and just tell you a little bit about what we call the induction period. So all the students who are going to come and study with us on this program will have an induction, an academic induction. So this gives you a timeline of what we call the induction period for master students. So Monday on the 18th of September, you would collect your identity card from the Myland campus in the afternoon. And then on Wednesday, you are going to be invited to join the Barts and the London Students Association Fair, which is a very nice occasion, so that you get to know a little bit more about student life at Queen Mary, University of London, and in particular at Barts and the London School of Medicine. And then there will be also a social event, which is for our institute. As you know, the Blizzard Institute is the place where you're going to study. The Blizzard Institute will organize its own social event on the 20th of September on the Whitechapel campus. So you can join first the Barts and the London Students Association Fair, and then you can come and join the Blizzard Social later on the same day in the afternoon. Then on Friday, the 22nd, you're going to have a welcome from us and a course introduction from me and from my colleague, Dr. Georgie Lopez-Tremoleda, who is Deputy Director of the program. So this will be the first time we meet properly and we talk about the program and explain our expectations and how the program will unfold. And then on Monday, the 25th, we're going to spend some time with the whole class to get to know you. So every student will be invited to talk for 5 minutes about themselves with the help of a few slides, just to tell us and to tell all the other colleagues you will have this master's year, to tell them about you, your background, why you want to study this particular master's, so the motivation, the reasons for it, and what you're planning to do after the master's. It's a very fun occasion. Again, in general, we have cakes, and it's very social. Again, to make you feel you start being part of the master's family. On the 25th of September, there is some academic pre-work which is due, and I will describe this in a moment on the next slide. And then on Thursday, the 20th of September, you're going to have a special session to see the library resources offered by the university. And then on Friday, the 29th, the lectures will begin. Okay, so excuse me. And let's see now this pre-work, academic pre-work. So you will know by now that we've invited you to write an essay of around 1,500 words on the topic that you can see, discuss using relevant examples, cell-based therapies for spinal cord repair. So this essay is a kind of rehearsal for the type of essays that you're going to write during the master's course. So the marks, the mark you're going to get for this essay will not count for your overall degree. And the essay is due at the beginning of term, as I said, on Monday the 25th, and will be marked by one of my colleagues who is an academic teaching on a program, and will be returned to you with feedback. And this will be an opportunity for us to see how you write, how you organize your ideas, how you use paragraphs, how you structure sentences, arguments, how you use punctuation, grammar, the spelling, the way you use references, the way you format references. And this is very important because becoming quite proficient at producing good essays is essential at this level, at master's level. I'm sure you will have had experience of this when you did your degree, but you're going to take this to the next level in the master's program. And later on in semester one, there will be an essay writing skills workshop where all these essays will be discussed again in detail. And we hope that this will help you a lot, and then gradually, as you progress through the master's program, you're going to become more and more successful and write amazing essays. It's a very important fundamental skill you need as a scientist, no matter what you choose as a path after the master's, whether you want to do a PhD or work in the private sector or the public sector as a researcher, or work in science administration. To be able to write well, clearly, professionally is a fundamental skill. Okay, so I think I'll stop here because these are the key points I wanted to tell you about. And I would like to open the conversation, an opportunity for you to ask questions. I see that Janelle, I hope I pronounced this correctly, has joined us. And there are questions. Please ask the question. You're muted at the moment.
Hi, I wanted to ask about pre-work. Do we use APA style or a different reference style?
You can use any reference style you wish. The reference style we use in general, when we recommend, is Harvard or Vancouver. So use a reference style which is a common reference style. Don't go for something too fancy, too different. And use it consistently. And hopefully this will be something you have been exposed to during your degree already, Janelle, I hope.
Okay, and for the font, is Times New Roman is mostly used, or there is another one?
We don't have any specification for fonts, whether it's Arial or Calibri or Times. Times is indeed very common, but other people prefer other fonts. It has to be big enough font, so don't make it too small. Make it reasonable size, 11, 12. So yeah, we don't have a tight specification for the nature of the font, but it should be legible, certainly in terms of size. Okay. And don't hesitate for this essay, for any other essays, don't hesitate to use also tables or figures. Do it as good as you can, and then you're going to get a lot of feedback on it anyway. Okay. I can see Angelica is also wants to ask something. Angelica, do you want to unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question about the research project. I know it's not really beginning until term 3, but is there any like facility to have help from staff to begin like narrowing down what you want to do your research project in earlier in the year, or is it something that we just do?
Yes, sure, there is. Yes, I mean, you as you will discover with us, we are a very friendly bunch of people and very open to a conversation with the students about their interests, and because the projects often reflect the interests the students have. And I may have mentioned this in previous webinars. We provide a list of projects in general towards the semester 1 or the beginning of semester 2, because the projects would only happen semester 3. But if you want to narrow down or have specific conversations with specific members of staff about areas of research interest to you, by all means, you can start this from day 1. For example, you know, if you already know that you would like to work on multiple sclerosis or work on brain tumors, you can directly contact my colleagues who will later on teach you anyway, and just arrange to see them informally and to see what type of projects they do in the research, what is available this year, because every year projects that are available vary. And it's only fair that you start a conversation about something that interests you as soon as you want, really, as soon as you can. So definitely we would encourage that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope I've answered your question so far. Right, so I don't know if there are any other questions from now it's really the time to fire away at me and ask any questions you may have about anything, about also the way we proceed in semester 1, what you're going to do in semester 1 in more detail. Very happy to give you more detail. I can only assume, and as I see no other, unless I'm missing questions in the chat, I can only assume that it's been so clear that there are no questions. Please don't be shy. And if you feel nervous about switching on your camera, you can just ask questions or put them in the chat line, and we can look at them, and I can try my very best to address them. Yeah. So let's see in the chat. Is there anything at the moment? No, there are. I can't see any questions in the chat. I see that we have quite a number of participants online. So I can only assume, because this webinar is for offer holders, I can only assume that you know well the program, and there is no point in me discussing in detail the structure of the course. But waiting for questions to materialize, we'll keep this webinar open still for a few minutes in case you need time to collect your ideas. So I just want to very briefly remind you that we start in the first semester with the research skills module, which is a very important module which will teach you many transferable skills, and they are relevant no matter what you decide to do later on in life after this master's. And also you're going to do the fundamentals of drug discovery and development module, which is a triple module. It's a very important module for the master's. And this module will teach you how to develop new treatments with all the specific knowledge that you require to develop a new treatment, whether it's an antibody or it's a small molecule, classical small molecule pharmacology. Yes, Chanel, I can see that you have your hand up.
About drug development module, Will we cover clinical trials ethics?
You're going to have, yes, a seminar on clinical trials.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And regarding the neuroinflammatory and autoimmune diseases module, this is a question from Arzu. Will teaching include diseases other than MS? Yes, my colleagues will also touch upon other conditions, not only multiple sclerosis. There is quite a major component of multiple sclerosis because they're going to be taught by really world leaders in the field of multiple sclerosis, and it's quite a lot to be taught about multiple sclerosis. So it's certainly going to be a substantial component, but not exclusively multiple sclerosis. Okay, so Lourdes is asking a question, Lourdes, maybe, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce this correctly. Will the essay topic changing over time? Essay topics will vary. Sometimes you will have long essays, short essays, and with different topics. It's not going to be always about spinal cord injury or spinal cord repair, of course. It depends on the context. Some of the essays associated with specific modules like neurodegenerative disease will cover the neurodegenerative disease space, or if it's chronic pain and epilepsy, you can have essays covering aspects of chronic pain, migraine, and brain tumors. Again, the neuro-oncology module will have its own essay titles. So definitely you're going to cover a wide range of topics, which reflects the content of the course. Angelica, I think you have your hand up again, yeah? And Janelle again, both, yeah? Please, ask.
Yes. It's another question about like the project and also just about the faculty. I was just wondering if you could, if there's a list of everyone on the team and like their emails, just in case we wanted to like start thinking about projects, or just to have just future reference. Sorry if we already have.
I think you're going to have access from day one. Once you are our student, you're going to have access to all the academic staff you want to contact and talk to. I don't know, I cannot remember because we have so many applicants who want to come and study with us. Angelica, I can't remember the particulars of your CV, but the way we function at Queen Mary, and in particular the Barts and the London Medical School, it's all very transparent. From you're going to have your master's handbook, and you will have all the addresses of all the teachers and all the clinicians and scientists involved in the course. And it's going to be the case that once you're our student, you can enter in direct conversation with them. You don't have to have anything mediated by me as program director, for example. So definitely you're going to have access to those once you become our student.
Okay, thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Janelle?
Speaking of assignments, how are the courseworks weighted towards exams?
In general, the in-course assessments, the coursework is around 20 to 30% of, so it's less than the final exam. The final exam is weighs more, but bear in mind that the way we run this program, you can compensate, because sometimes people, for a variety of reasons, may not do maybe as well as they wish they do, or achieve a high mark in the exam, and you can internally compensate. For example, you can work very well and have high marks in during the term, during the semester, and that will help. Even if you have perhaps a less good mark in the final exam than you hoped, you can compensate with the in-course components, and that's very important because it keeps you on an even keel. So you can still get overall a good grade.
So mostly coursework's around 30% and exams 70%.
Something like that, yeah.
And exams will be in person and timed.
Online,
Online, and it's still timed.
yeah, timed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so I have a question. I see, first I will take a question I see in the chat from Ria, who I'll read this just in case you don't see it. I'm Ria Matthew. I'm from India. Nice to meet you, Ria. The method of assessment in universities is different in India, hence I'm not really aware of the type of essay that are usually written in universities. Could I maybe see any example of essays which would help me? Well, that's precisely the point of this pre-work essay. Think of it as a short science review. I'm sure that all of you during your degree have read reviews on whatever topic you wanted to know more about. For example, the topic of your research project, or topics if you are a medical student and or a medically qualified person already, medical practitioner, you may have read a review on a clinical aspect. So a short essay is like a short review, and there is nothing very specific about it. It has a structure, it has a title, it has a structure, and it has the references that you use to make various points. So as the first essay is not marked towards your overall degree mark, it's just a first trial essay, and you will engage in discussion with the staff involved in marking it, and they are going to give you extensive feedback, and you're going to use this feedback to do your next essays. Okay. Ayman, I think we have Ayman again. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Ayman Kawa.
Yeah, hello. Hi.
Hi.
I hope you're well. Thank you for
Thanks.
the
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if we will be experimenting with wet lab and dry lab methods during this course.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have a variety of experiences during the course, not only the fact that you're taught concepts and have seminars, you're going to have a practical component. You're going to be offered, especially for those who have limited lab experience, a little bit of a practical experience in the first semester, just to have a feel for work in the lab. And this is just as an experience, it's not marked or anything. And then, of course, the projects themselves are wet lab or dry projects. And they vary tremendously. As I said initially, the projects can be very lab-based, and we always try and make sure that students have an opportunity to choose what they want. Some students are determined they're going to get more lab experience during a master's year, and they always want to do lab-based projects. Other students are more interested in, for example, doing dry projects like bioinformatics projects. Or clinical meta-analysis, systematic reviews. So it's a wide range. It has to be level 7, so it has to be master's level in terms of quality and scope. And this is our duty, that we need to frame the project so that you achieve this master's level quality. But they can be lab projects or wet projects or dry projects. We have both.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. I can't see any new questions. We are 25 minutes into this webinar. And as I think Sam put a line in the chat too, if you have any questions after the webinar, for some reason you can't think of a question now, and you want more support or anything else on your mind that you didn't feel you could raise during this webinar with me, please feel free to write to us after this webinar, because maybe also I haven't answered exactly as clearly as I hoped. I answered some questions, and that's also important. If you want to revisit certain questions and ask for a more detailed answer, I'm very happy to do that for you. So after we finish the webinar, it doesn't mean that you can't contact us. So I'm going to leave this open for the next few minutes and then close it if there are no other questions. I hope you are all organized for the practicalities of life in London, for those of you either who come from abroad or who have experience of living in other parts of the United Kingdom. It's very important that if you have any questions linked to this aspect of your studies, you can send us questions, and if we can help you, we'll do our very best to help you. We do look at our master students as a very close-knit family. It's completely different from a degree level big cohort of students. So we want to take care of you as much as we can in other aspects, not only the academic aspect. We're going to have a lot of time together to develop your academic skills, and I hope you're going to grow with us. Yes, Chanel.
I have two questions. Is there a collaboration between university and hospitals around for students to, for instance, assist researchers or just observe?
Well, there is more than a cooperation. There's very tight link between the medical school and the large hospitals it's associated with. The St. Bartholomew's Hospital and the Royal London Hospital. The Royal London Hospital is now one of the largest hospitals in Europe, with a huge range of patients and conditions. So yes, we have very close links with the hospital. The access to wards and to patients is tightly regulated in the United Kingdom. Students can see demonstrations, and clinicians often organize demonstrations of cases or invite a patient so that you can discuss various conditions with patients. For example, you might have a patient with motor neuron disease who is invited to come to talk to you, and you can ask questions. Students, especially who are not clinically qualified, are not expected in this country to circulate freely in a hospital. A hospital is a protected place. So access to patients is possible and will happen, but it's very tightly regulated.
And about documentation, who should we contact about providing documents?
Documents of what type?
Such as diploma.
You mean documentation required for your registration?
Yeah.
For any details, Chanel, that you require to complete your registration, please contact Sam. There is an administrative team. Samantha Rose Buckner is on call in this webinar. You can see her chat line. So normally Samantha Rose Buckner or Pretty Dixit are the other administrator. They have been in contact with you. And if you have any questions about procedures and registrations on, please direct them to Samantha or to Pretty, and they're going to help you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, so I'm going to still wait a bit because sometimes questions come a little bit later. But as I said, we start around end of September, and we are quite flexible. If for some reason, some special circumstances lead to students being delayed by a few days, it's quite all right, but we need to know about it. So once you finalize your registration, and I would really encourage you to proceed and register and complete your intention to come and study with us. Once you do that, if there are any circumstances, any problems, because life happens, please don't hesitate and let us know, because it happens that sometimes people have an event in their private life and they just can't be the very beginning of the course with us. They might need an extra week, or they get unwell. These things happen. You know, we've been through a big pandemic, but don't be worried about it. It's perfectly all right if you let us know and you know that you're going to be delayed. Now, I can see that there is a question again. Lourdes, I think, again. How will be our work with the Blizzard Institute? So I hope I understand your question. So the Blizzard Institute, and you've seen amazing photos of this building. The Blizzard Institute is a research institute, which is your home. So it is your home because the program is organized by the Center for Neuroscience, Surgery and Trauma, which is one of the large research centers of the Blizzard Institute. And the research projects, at least some of them, will be carried out in the research space of the institutes. Not exclusively. In some cases, as I said, you might be in a different building of the campus. We have 3 interconnected campuses, which are very close to each other. And you may be for your project on another campus. But the work with the Blizzard Institute means that very often you're going to have lectures either within the institute, we have some seminar rooms, or just outside the institute in one of the neighboring buildings. So all is very concentrated. You don't have to travel miles and miles to go between lectures and seminars. And when it comes to the projects, because the Blizzard Institute has quite a large research space, it may be that at least half of you will be downstairs in the large research space doing either electrophysiology or cell culture, working on stem cells, or looking at patient tissue sections from brain injured patients, who knows, a variety of possibilities. Don't know if I answered your question with this. Yeah, is that okay? Good. Excellent. I'll still wait for questions. Another thought I have now to mention is that if there are any delays in your papers, sometimes with international students, there are delays, not only international, sometimes with UK students, there are delays in some of the key papers required for the registration. So please, again, don't hesitate to contact Samantha or Pretty. They will be in contact with you and ask any clarification, or let us know if you experience problems with some of the papers you need to provide, because we need to make a note and see if there's anything we can do to help. But this is just administrative details that, you know, we need to bear in mind that not everything goes perfectly, and especially when it comes to international transfer of documents, it's not always obvious. So just let us know if there are any specific things we can do to help. I cannot see Any other questions from the participants I see? Right, so I assume that all is clear. And I will just conclude in these last few minutes that I'm really looking forward to meeting you all again, like every year. When I look at the applicants we have, they and those who have confirmed already, because many people are already clearly going to be here. That's why I would encourage you to finalize your intention to come. It is going to be very interesting because the master's group is an interesting group academically, because there is such a variety of backgrounds, and this makes for very interesting interactions. Some of the work you're going to do is going to be very individual, of course, your own performance, but other work you're going to have group projects and you're going to work together, and it's going to be very interesting for you, I'm sure. I know based on previous experience to interact with colleagues who have different backgrounds. There's a lot of enrichment and it's very stimulating to talk to colleagues who are different from your background, because when you do a degree, everybody is pretty much the same in a university or in a certain degree program. At master's level, you're much closer, of course. It's the last level before you do a doctorate, for example, as a scientist, and you have much more heterogeneity. It's much more fun, and you exchange ideas and you have complementary knowledge, and it makes for a very vibrant atmosphere. Okay. Good. So I think I have said pretty much everything I wanted to say, and if I'm going to close this webinar now in the next minute or two, and just to, oh, there is a new message. Yes, that's from David. Yes, I was about to say, and I hope that I've been able to address your queries, but please don't hesitate after the webinar to think about anything else that is on your mind and maybe you're not quite sure about. It's very important now, and it's a crucial time, August, to really clarify everything, and then hopefully we're going to see all of you on our program. So thank you very much for attending this and for your questions. And I hope we're going to meet soon. Bye-bye.